Everyone is marketing BPC-157 as this miracle compound. It's the Wolverine compound. You can heal anything. It's the cryo chamber in a vial. Nobody talks about those permanent issues. What is up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Today's ASMR sip is some Perrier. Forever long. It's forever. Andrew, the lime taste goes on forever. The little scientists are like, this is the formula. Welcome back to PEDucation. Today I got a BPC-157 body protection compound 157. Sadly, it's not in the Anabolics 11th edition, so we are pretty much out of the Anabolics 11th edition. I will be sourcing my information from good old, gonna take Russo and Andrew's job, ChatGPT. So I am kind of bummed I'm using ChatGPT, but I will research and showcase some of the actual NCBI data. The reason why I like the book, Anabolics 11th edition, because it was actual medical professionals kind of summarizing in common terms all the drugs. Now we're at the point with the PEDucation series most of the time. I think Andrew and I can maybe dig and find maybe like a couple more out of there. But we're at the point where we're going to be showing NCBI articles to source this stuff. So when you read those types of articles, I don't even understand everything half the time. But with ChatGPT these days, you can pull your NCBI article up and you can have ChatGPT break it down in common terms. I just wanted to showcase the history to keep PEDucation like normal. So I like to go into the history and then we'll go into Russo's 2 cents, and I do have a couple varying opinions on body protection compounds. So according to ChatGPT, it was identified in research related to the healing effects of gastric juices in damaged tissues. So this is locally made in your stomach. And they noticed the angiogenesis effects, how Andrew threw up angiogenesis effects throughout the body with BPC-157. So it was in Croatia at the University of Zagreb. Andrew, Zagreb just sounds like they're in the tundra, like in some lab. Like, pull up Zagreb, it's probably like not even cold. I'm probably just bullshitting. We're exploring peptides that could aid in gastrointestinal repair and other forms of wound healing. So the original, what they were in the lab for is they wanted to mimic the stomach lining's ability to repair itself. So Andrew and I have stomach lining with acid, that the acid should be eating the stomach lining and burn through your entire body. Why does that not happen? BPC-157 plays a role in it. Okay, can we exploit this in other parts of the body, especially low blood flow areas? So they began synthesizing what is now called BPC-157 by looking at sequences of different proteins found in the stomach, and they started putting that all together, and voila, one of the best healing peptides ever utilized around the world is formed. All right, we bring it up to the 2000s to present day. You know, I showcased it was in Croatia that they originally had the idea to research into the stomach lining. It was now being researched into tendon repair, brain injury repair, and all sorts of gastrointestinal issues. It then leaked into the bodybuilding world, where we see it being abused around the world today. I did want to mention why it never got FDA approved. So according to good old cheater GPT that knows everything, lack of large scale human trials, it got halted for whatever reason. There's not large human trials. There's weird mechanisms of action. So it obviously stimulates angiogenesis, which is the forming of new blood vessel trees. So the reason BPC shines so much is like when you damage a tendon, a ligament, something around that, you know, sort of nature, there's not a lot of blood flow going there. So why doesn't it heal that quickly? Why do you have tendon and joint issues a long time? Because blood's not circulating. So when you add BPC, when you inject a little bit in there, you are speeding up that process like crazy. And they formed that little compound by looking at the stomach lining. But as far as the safety and ethics of BPC-157, I think Big Pharma just wasn't interested, aka Big Pharma is a business, and they were just not about continuing the funding of it. It could just impact other products, and it could just, you know, they didn't really want to fund it anymore. It didn't seem like there was anything glaring in the research that pointed to extreme danger right? A lot of these other compounds I feature on here, there's a reason why it was stopped. Some compounds just get left behind and they feel like they've researched enough and they don't want to continue research. Other compounds, there's like glaring cancer, eyesight side effects, weird kidney damage. Like there's nothing that I found personally with BPC that I'm like, okay, it was halted because this extreme risk caution. BPC doesn't really have any of that going on. However, after I get to dosing, I do want to mention Russo's 2 cents at the end. So according to ChatGPT, the dosing is 200 to 500 mcgs in the area you want to heal. So if you have a shoulder issue, my friend just shoved some BPC in there, promoted more blood flow. Over time, it healed faster. If you have if you have tendon issues like tennis elbow, you could shove it around there, but it's definitely injecting it close to the area and it will just speed it up. And the mechanism which it's doing is it's looking at the stomach, the way it regenerates. So we are just taking that and putting it in different places of the body, which is encouraging higher blood flow to low blood flow areas. And this is where the Wolverine healing effects of all the marketing people come in. Oh, you're like Wolverine now. This is the actual science behind it. You're just pretty much promoting more blood flow and you're dramatically speeding it up. Obviously, if you combine with a growth hormone pathway compound, such as actual growth hormone, any of the secretagogues, including MK677, if you're using BPC to cause more blood flow, and then you're using something in the growth hormone pathway to cause a higher IGF-1, you will heal through injuries faster. Injuries will seem to be less painful to heal through, and you will be able to, if you have a nagging body part that's always injured, I do think BPC and TB500, which I'll do a TB500 video eventually, is something to look into. I have a lot of older guys that go like, oh, I had this nagging injury for years. Boom, BPC-157, code Russo at checkout. The end. Why is that happening? Those low blood flow areas do not heal, right? You could also just put a hot press on it, but obviously BPC-157 is like the peptide compound that's going to hyper speed it up. With oral administration, it's saying 500 mcgs to 1000 mcgs per dose once daily, which they're going after. It's good for gut health and everything. I'm going to argue against the oral administration. So Andrew already made this video, and if you go on my channel, be sure to use the search feature because I have so many videos at this point. BPC-157 is dangerous. So I wanted to read some content out of the comment section of the collective. Been taking it for a year, nothing but positive results. Everything we put in our body has a chance of doing something one way or the other. I think it's probably a bit jaded of your nightmare scenario. I think there's a much greater risk with SARMs and gear than BPC, but I understand you care. I started taking BPC about a month ago. First 4 days, 500 mcgs, titrated to 1000 for 3 days, and 1500, then dropped it and stayed at 1000. I play semi-professional football and wear and tear training, and now spring ball summer season hasn't gave my shoulder any time to recover, and the range of motion resided. Dosing above head movements way too much. The tension, my neck pain completely subsided. As well, I partially tore my meniscus the past 2 weeks. Played 10 games on it. Andrew's played 10 games on a torn meniscus. Nagged for months, I wonder why. Since dosing and clicking and cracking and popping has almost gone away too. Both nagged me for 7 months, gone in 3 weeks from dosing BPC-157. I took it orally for my IBS and it completely healed my stomach in 4 weeks, and running for another 4 and I'll quit. First 1-2 weeks, my stomach issues got worse before getting better. Oral fixed my stomach issues so fast it was amazing. It did cause ahadona for a couple weeks, only at least. It made me resistant to stimulants for a while. Caffeine did nothing at high doses. This is why I wanted to mention, I love BPC-157. I made this video talking shit, and I mentioned that BPC-157 saved that athlete's career, and it saved many athletes in a crutch. I do err towards you injecting it in the area you want, unless you want to risk interfering with the natural production that's already going on in your stomach lining. I do think flooding it could cause the natural production to want to change course. That's impacting your gut microbiome for better or for worse. It's a roll of the dice. Your gut microbiome is the brain to gut axis, meaning gut gives all the stuff to the brain wants. So when you mess with your gut, you're actually cognitively messing with yourself. So I do see BPC-157, if you're abusing it orally, you're messing with your gut microbiome, which is the resources your brain uses for dopamine and all that other stuff. So I've seen weird case scenarios with the oral administration where it's messed up the gut-brain axis. I don't know what's messed up. No, nobody's going to be able to know, right? Until you can plug a chip into the body and type how much free circulating this, free circulating that is being tracked. Nobody can tell you. It's kind of, an issue to get into that scenario where I would say injecting it, you're not really interfering with the natural BPC going on. When you're taking it oral, Andrew, like you're Wolverine, I can heal through everything. You're like punching walls and stuff and healing faster. I think your stomach could just basically be like, well, there's enough of this compound being exogenously added in. I'm gonna shut the system off. Who knows what other variables are going to be messed up when the system fluctuates like that. Ryan, I thought you were talking shit, but turns out you're spot on. I started taking oral BPC and first week was fine. And I think most of the second week too, but somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks, I started feeling weird. I had no motivation and was very lethargic. Nothing interested me that normally would. No sexual desire for anything. Making dinner was a task. After about 4 or 5 days, I put it together and stopped and took 3-4 days till I fully recovered. I consider myself lucky to have recovered so quickly. It's no joke. You don't want to risk this shit. I was kind of scared, and what Ryan says is 100% true. I should have listened. I got severe, in asterisks, sickness after using BPC orally for 3 weeks. I suspected post, but this day I'm not sure who's to blame. Blare the C word, Andrew. Freaky insomnia and full body inflammation for 3 months. I've used the injectable after that with no issues. Took BPC injectable. Doesn't seem to be safe. Injectable for certain individuals. Experienced crazy iodona. It completely flipped my life upside down. Cost me my relationship. Almost cost me my life. I'd advise not to use this stuff at all. It's been about 6 months and I'm somewhat getting back to normal, but not fully. I definitely don't find the same enjoyment as life as I used to. Scary stuff. Other than fixing a decade-long back injury, it switched off all the background chatter in my brain and generally removed the depression for me via the nasal spray, which was a great relief. I switched to capsules and feel like they are less effective. Plan to switch back to the spray. Unless you're using a big long needle, you're not actually localizing your injection. You might be near the injury site, but subcutaneous means wherever you're injecting is going to get distributed out of the body. So if I have a shoulder injury and I shove a needle in my shoulder subcutaneously, it's going to start to dissipate near the shoulder. So Andrew, we already have the nerds. Russo's getting attacked with pitchforks. I also think you should cycle the stuff. For no other reason, it gets expensive. Everything feels better, but after I finish the vial, I'll take a break and see if any healing occurred. Good luck with the oral. My understanding, the oral is great if you have gastrointestinal issues, but overall, it's not going to distribute through the body as well as a subcutaneous injection. Or you could just shove it in the muscle around that, but you would be starting the injection. It would be working in the spot first. Will it get dissipated? Obviously. Yeah, so that is a video called BPC-157 is dangerous. I made that video specifically to think I was never going to do a PEDucation because I thought I already did one on this compound, but I didn't. I think you should really consider the risk case scenarios because everyone is marketing BPC-157 as this miracle compound. It's the Wolverine compound. You can heal anything. It's the cryo chamber in a vial. It's like one of these things where I'm like, nobody talks about those permanent issues. And when you're messing with the gut-brain axis, A lot of shit can go wrong, and it's not easy fixes with that. It's really not, because that's called a cascading of a variable. You're changing the BPC made in the stomach variable, especially with the oral. You're jacking it up artificially. It's being exogenously produced. Same way when you shove a bunch of testosterone in your ass or your shoulder, your testicles go, I think there's enough test flown around. I'm gonna suppress down. It seems to be easier to kick on the hormone axis. Now, when you're interfering with the gut-brain axis, that's like, all right, that's like the peak central nervous system resource to control panel communication you're interfering with. When that gets messed up, you don't know the cascade of variable switches that changes. And when every individual is so individualized with their persona of their gut-brain axis, their diet, how long their gut-brain axis has been fighting their shitty diet, all these sort of things. Russo can go down the rabbit holes of each scenario. BPC could interfere with that and cause serious side effects orally. I would personally stick to injecting it IM or subcutaneous around the injury and using it sparingly and giving yourself breaks. I think people know how good it is at healing stuff, and then they just start blasting it. You know, Andrew, they're in a sports injury. The faster, the more they use, the, better they get, the faster they get back on the field. Or you cause catastrophic side effects by abusing this compound. I don't see any other channel personally that's actually beefing BPC-157 like I am, because I just think, like, when you mess up your gut-brain axis, you're going to notice it 24/7 until it works itself out. And when it's working itself out, the microbiome is so nuanced. There's so much calculation going on with everything in the gut microbiome, to a point where you would need a computer to computate all the interactions of all the stuff talking in your gut to each other, to the brain, to truly quantify what all got messed up because you took a little bit of BPC-157 orally and started popping it like candy. Don't pop this drug like candy. Don't think it's completely safe. However, it is well tolerated by the masses for years. I think there's multiple administration methods via nasal spray, injection, or oral. I would stick to injection only. Everyone's afraid of needles. That oral BPC looks amazing. Sure, you could risk the oral BPC-157 to help with stuff like IBS and other gut issues. That seems to be like there's not enough BPC being made, as it's creeping back up to what could be perceived as the normal level to make the IBS go away. However, if you overwhelm the system, if the system freaks out, the system will modify variables around you, exogenously placing this compound into you, and you are interfering with the stomach, the gut-brain axis. This is something that is extremely complicated to troubleshoot, and you saw that guy not fully better 6 months later. I definitely want this information to be public, because Andrew, like, moms are probably going to learn about BPC-157. They're going to think I'm a biohacking mom, and I go on TikTok and I give my kids, like, you don't know what you're doing with the gut-brain axis, okay? When you inject it, whether it be sub-Q or IM, it's going in the localized area you want it to get to, first off. It's going to dissipate while not interfering with the factory that's making its own, aka the stomach, is where the variables are being checked by the brain if it should continue making it. When you add it in the stomach or nasally, I could definitely see it interfering more. I think injection's the safest method. I'm not saying BPC orally is ineffective or could help with gut issues, or that nasally snorting it might just be the easy way for you to get a little quick healing benefit if your body's always run down and beat down. If your body's always run down and beat down, I think you should consider a growth hormone pathway and increasing IGF-1 to cause more cell replication to have your body heal faster, rather than using BPC-157. BPC-157, where I see it shine in my mind, is you have a tendon issue, you have a joint issue, you have a ligament issue, you get that needle either subcutaneous, which will eventually spread, but it's starting in the right spot, or you get an IM in there and hold it in the muscle, which is going to hold it there a little bit more. And then the healing is a localized effect and slowly dissipates over the body. I would avoid the oral where you're interfering where the stuff is naturally made and it's being tracked the level. Even if the oral could help the IBS issues or other gut issues, I would be knowing that's a research chemical with an extreme side of caution. With the nasal spray, I would definitely be careful with the gut-brain axis as well. But the injectable seems to be super helpful at healing nagging body parts and injuries. I'll have Andrew link the other video below for you to read the comments for yourself. I will see you guys in my next video.